There is a large cap which doesn't move day after day, and then you've got the mid and the small caps which continues to soar.
Torrent, in fact, has thrown its hat in the ring when it comes to the race to buy the Cipla promoter stake.
127 crore shares will be eligible for trading once their lock-in period ends.
There's a lot of interest given the market is doing very well, especially the mid-cap and small-cap.
The industry has managed to put a strong growth in three of its biggest segments.
The world is watching with bated breath to see if Chandrayaan-3 will succeed in making a soft landing on the south pole of the moon.
The bank Nifty is up around 370 odd points.
Well, that was the day so far. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Closing Bell. We are coming to you live from the CNBC TV 18 Multi-Rosewell studios. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Rima and Surbi here in the studios. Nigel joins us as always from Newsroom 4. Guys, hi, good afternoon. Nigel, hi, good afternoon. Well, it's up and about 60 points higher on the Nifty. We are nicely cruising along. And this is not yesterday's session. This is more like day before yesterday's session. Yesterday was flattish where the market did nothing. Today, it's got a little more in terms of the zing. So I put this level out in the morning, 19,440. So yesterday, all day, we were hugging the 19,400 level. We moved up 50 points. That's it. So we're above 19,440. Hopefully, the speed should pick up a little bit now. And it's not going to be a drag and slow move. Maybe the speed picks up. That's what's needed. The 20-day is still some distance away, about 100 points actually. 20-day moving average is at 19,500 and 40, which is the logical kind of level to get to and then trade above. The banks are, well, they're saying a pretty good move, and that's actually the more encouraging of the sign, right? The bank Nifty is up a full 1% after lagging for the last so many trading sessions now. So it's a very nice move. I don't remember the last time we saw a 1% up move on the Nifty Bank. It's been at least, I think, 2 weeks. The 20-day for the Nifty Bank stands at 44,720. So again, that is just less than 1% away from where we are right now. And mid-cap and small-cap indices are trading between 0.5% to 1% higher as well. So that's the broader kind of picture. No problem there. Small-cap index now closing the gap with its lifetime high, which is about 100 odd points away or so. So if you're wondering, in terms of indices, what to do, index, what to do, I mean, I would still kind of lean on the side to say, well, wait and watch. Wait for disclose. There are things lined up. Things are happening in the US session with these big NVIDIA result, which is going to be important for the tech complex. Then Friday, you've got this Jackson Hole. Nothing dramatic is going to happen in the next 2 days. But maybe a rally is building up, and the better thing to do is to trade it with stocks where it's more clear which way momentum is and which are the stocks which are rising or falling. So we'll talk more about that in just a bit. Rima.
Prashant, I just wanted to say before Rima comes in, maybe the Bank Nifty is taking inspiration from the Chandrayaan. Finally, it has decided to lift off as well.
And it's aiming for the moon, looks like. But what a move in the banks, right? Banks had done absolutely nothing for the last so many days. Pull up a one-week chart, and banks had been just sluggish, tired. There was so much fatigue in it. And finally, you are seeing signs of a breakout. What a good move we're seeing. The index is up close to about 1%. And despite this, on a month-to-date basis, the Nifty Bank is still down 2.5%. Underperforming the mid-caps, which have seen a rally of close to about 3%. So the day purely belongs to the banking names. In fact, if you pull up the contribution plate, you would see that out of the Nifty gain of about 55 points, almost 50 points is courtesy ICICI, Axis, State Bank of India and Kotak Mahindra Bank. These four banks are contributing about 45 to 50 points of the Nifty up move. So the strength that we're seeing in the frontline index is all on account of these large cap banks, which have made quite the move. Now the levels to track on the Nifty Bank will be the 20 and 50-day moving average, which stand at 44,700 to 44,800. These would be two important resistance levels for the Nifty Bank to conquer on the way up. Just to quick check on the individual movers. Axis Bank is the top Nifty gainer. That's up 2.5%. ICICI Bank, State Bank of India, HDFC Bank is not showing you a big percentage move, but pull up the intraday chart and you would see that Giant 2 has woken up. On the mid-cap end of it, Federal Bank, RBL Bank, Union Bank, Bandhan Bank, these are stocks where you are seeing gains of close to about 3 to 4 odd %. And outside of that, Sun TV and Indian Hotels deserve mention. Two F&O stocks, very good price and volume action seen there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, today is a day that both large caps and mid caps have kind of pulled together, and global markets have held up, barring mainland China. All of the Asian markets had some green on it. Right now, Europe is trading with some positivity as well, about 0.5% up on some of these European indices like the CAC, the DAX. That was how a lot of the regional markets around us closed out. So it is a green day, no sort of taking away from that. And a lot of stocks moving with price and volume action. Take a look at RCF, for instance. Pull up the graph if we can. Suddenly an 8.5% up move coming in. Big volumes on RCF, actually even NFL. So this is a bit of a, overall sector move that's playing out on fertilizers. There's a federal bank which is finding both, again, price and volume action. Some of the new age stocks like Paytm and Zomato are doing well. It's a long list of winners really out there. And then, of course, the PSU names, Hindustan Copper coming up on the screen. Actually, metals overall, large cap, mid cap, small cap, most metal stocks have had a great rally today. The thesis is the same. Expectations of some more stimulus in China, and maybe that will work well for commodities. So that's the metal trade for the day. But Nigel, overall looking good, and I guess the bulls will really like the way the bank Nifty's performed today.
Surbhi, all of us are excited, but I think you in particular are very, very excited about this event today, right? The Chandrayaan.
Oh, absolutely.
You remember when it was launched?
It's been more than a few weeks, but I don't remember the date.
So I'll tell you the date. It was July 14th when it was there, and we were all in the studio on that day. And we had a fantastic final 60 minutes. I recall it, and Reema, I think, was there as well. As it took off, we had the markets as well that took off. And today, on the last day, hopefully, it's likely to be the last day today. We are seeing a lot of traction as well, so maybe some kind of linkage out there as well. And I'll tell you what, on the day of launch, we had a very, very good final 60 minutes. We'll be hoping, the bulls will be hoping that the final 60 minutes today as well is quite good, because the Nifty bank has finally come to the party, and that was giving an indication it wants to go towards that 44,700 odd mark. So just thought I'll put that up for our viewers. So Mitesh Thakkar is with us as well to give us his trade. Hi Mitesh, well finally the Nifty bank said, hey, don't keep me out. It was the underperformer. Now it looks like it's seeing some traction, at least for the time being. That 44,200 mark is conquered. Now all eyes on the 44,700 mark. Your take.
So I'm slightly more bullish, Nigel, over here. Good afternoon. 44, 200 and 500 were two levels which I was watching. We have tested 44, 500 just trading over there. But I think the way this hourly and 2 hourly charts are shaping up, good chance that we might go for a test of 45,000 plus levels over here. So quite positive on Bank Nifty. At least today is some kind of a reversal pattern fired. And 44,250 is now your stop loss if you want to take any long positions. And 45,000 is the first target. We may even eventually look at higher levels. So stay long. And as I said on the Nifty also, we did test the lower end of the range on Friday. I think we are heading towards the upper end, which is closer to about 19,650. And Nifty Bank could, possibly add to that up move on the Nifty as well. So very clearly trade with long bias. I have right now 2 buy calls. One of them is RCF. I think Surbhi was just mentioning the stock. Good price and volume breakout over here. Keep a stop at 117. Look for targets of 130 to begin with. And the other one is RBL Bank from the banking space. This is also given a very strong reversal. So buy here as well. Keep a stop at 224. Look for targets of 243.
Okay, all right. Mitesh, thanks a lot for giving us your call on the index. You're continuing to stay long, and you've given us a couple of stock calls as well. Hemang Jani as well joins us on the show. Hi, Hemang. Thanks so much for joining in. Well, we want to discuss a lot of stocks with you, Hemang. So let's start off with one buzzing stock, and then I'll come to you for your view on it. GMDC. The stock is buzzing in today's trading session. Just a few days ago, the management had put out on the exchanges that they've gone ahead and increased the dividend for the past year by around 20%, from around 9 rupees 10 paise to around 11 rupees 45 paise. The street has taken it very, very positively. In fact, the stock price only has moved 20%, post this revision. The dividend yield on the current stock price is around 5.1, 5.2% approximately. And the total dividend payout as a percentage of the last year's EPS is closer to around 30%. The last quarter's numbers, though, were disappointing. No two ways about that. There was a compression on margins both on a year-on-year as well as on a sequential basis. The revenues were lower. The profitability as well got hit. Maybe various factors played out. Maybe the onset of the monsoon or early monsoon could have hurt them. The power business as well out there is struggling. Next up, what are the triggers going ahead? Why is the street so excited? One point is they're hopeful that there'll be a recovery of performance. Now, Q2 is normally seasonally weak for them. So the hope is that in the second half of the year, there'll be a revival out there. So let's hope margins improve on that front. And the next biggest trigger for them is the unlocking of the opportunity in the rare earth elements business. They've been pumping in money in there. They have getting consultants as well online, but we need to see some delivery. But the street is optimistic on that front. As looking at the shareholding pattern, you have close to 74% stake with the promoter entity, which is the government. And also the FIs and DIs put it together, they have close to 4.5% stake, though I didn't find any notable name among the FIs and DIs. So there is some participation, but we'll still be waiting for the name out there. So that's the entire, all those triggers and all the factors with regard to GMDC. Hemang, coming across to you at around 220 rupees. You've seen it before at this price, but it did correct from there on. What's your view on it? Is there something really going to come about from this rare earth opportunity that they've been talking about? How bullish are you?
Good afternoon, Nigel. I think we should see some of these stocks movement in the context of the broader PSU theme which is at play, particularly defense, railway, some of the power. And occasionally you'll find that some of the smaller PSU or the state PSU, as we call basis, certain developments like in GMDC, people are talking about the implementation of the rare earth metal policy by the government and the possible benefit it could have for some of these PSU companies like Hindustan Copper, GMDC. And also there is an element of lithium plan also which is there where GMDC could play a role. But my take, Nigel, is that we should take certain things with a pinch of salt. I think we don't need to chase any and every small PSU stock, just because there is some buzz in the market or there is a momentum. I think it makes more sense to stay focused on the names where there is a certain degree of earning visibility, or that, let's say, defense is the core theme, and that there is a certain amount of a re-rating which is happening because of the focus of the government, because of the regional or geopolitical issues which are there. So I think it would make more sense to stay with selective names rather than chasing multiple names.
Okay. Hemang, do stay on. We want to talk about the big story, one that everyone in India is going to be watching, and that is our ambitious moon mission. Chandrayaan-3 is scheduled to make history by successfully soft landing on the lunar South Pole. It's a proud moment for all of us as the countdown begins, and if successful, we will be the fourth nation to accomplish this on the South Pole. In fact, linked to this, a whole host of stocks are also buzzing in trade. Vivek is here with those details. Vivek.
Well, absolutely. There are a whole host of companies within the listed universe which have gone ahead and supplied, various critical components, gone ahead and done work in terms of actually going ahead and planning how exactly will the orbit be. A whole host of stocks, 8 on our list. Let's have a look at each one of them and what exactly have they contributed to the entire mission. First on our list, L&T company manufactured as well as did a proof pressure testing of critical booster segments. Also did the system integration of the launch vehicle for the entire Indian space program. Second on our list is BPCL. The company provided batteries to ISRO for construction of Chandrayaan. Also talking about Hindustan Aeronautics, company manufactured Vikram lander, part of the spacecraft that will actually land on the moon. Fourth name on our list is Paris Defense. The company supplied navigation systems for the spacecraft. MTAR Tech, this particular company supplies Vikas engines, cryogenic engine subsystems, and also supplied various modules for the launch vehicle Mark III. Talking about Adani as well, supplied various alloys and special steels for the lift launch vehicle. Walchand Nagar Industries, this particular company has been associated with the space program for quite a while. Company supplies critical booster segments S200, which were both manufactured as well as proof tested at the company's facility itself. Components were used in the launch vehicle of the Chandrayaan mission. And lastly, the stock we're talking about is Centum Electronics, designing as well as manufacturing electrical systems for the entire launch.
Okay, all right. That's a tidy little list. And thank you very much. Really fantastic. A lot of it is homegrown technology. A lot of it is indigenous. And those stocks are up in a way. In fact, it seems the market wants to latch onto this theme, Prashant. I mean, Nelco, it's a Tata Group company that's into VSAT connectivity. I don't think it has anything to do with the Chandrayaan. But even that stock's buzzing 8-9% higher. I think it's really the theme today.
I think in 2021 or 22, the government and the cabinet had cleared the space. It was called something. Space policy. It was the space policy under which there was in a very formal way, letting the private sector participate in this India space program, which was not there before. So. I remember there was also, something of them using facilities of ISRO for a nominal charge to test things, etc. And by the way, I mean, we don't talk about it, but in the startup world, I think there's a company out of IIT Madras which is now very, very big and is very well funded, which actually is aiming to become, I'm using the term loosely, but
the next Tesla?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, SpaceX, not Tesla.
SpaceX, actually,
right?
not Tesla.
Which is, but it's space is the final frontier, as they say, but it's booming business as well, apparently.
And this whole race to the moon, I was reading about it yesterday. There was a complete lull after the Cold War for 4 odd decades. It was a forgotten story, but suddenly, moon is the new frontier. Maybe a base station for onwards and beyond.
I'm just surprised the budget, guys. It's only done under less than $75 million. That's less than what movies are made.
Yeah.
Right? I think Interstellar was made with double the budget, if not more.
I think I don't want to, but I'm going on a limb here. But I think in the US, companies charge $1 million to carry one liter of payload. $1 million for a liter. So if you want to carry one bottle, one Bisleri, 1 liter, it's $1 million, right? So it's but India is, of course, far ahead in terms of bringing costs down and in such a huge way. And actually, that's the reason why, we are, in a way, the launch station for the world in many ways.
Oh, yes, absolutely, with our PSLV program. Hemang, now, obviously, there's so much of excitement around these stocks, a lot of pride, and why not? But let's talk fundamentals. A lot of them have done very well. Aside of the Chandrayaan project, stocks like Paras Defense, MTAR, they've had a defense angle to them along with space exploration as well. Have any of these companies been on your radar? Any that you study, that you like?
So, Surbhi, I think, apart from the smaller names like Midani and MTR Technology, etc., I think, some of the companies like L&T and BAIL, where, apart from the fact that the core business, there is a certain amount of improvement, they have also played an important role in terms of, supplying certain components, batteries. Let's say BAIL is supplying batteries for Chandrayaan 3, and it has also manufactured certain adapters, etc. Even L&T has played a key role, in terms of providing certain components for Chandrayaan mission. And I think, it would make more sense to focus on the companies which are having their own core story, and Chandrayaan could be an important trigger because of the focus which is coming back onto the kind of spend that we could have once this is successful. And at a global front, if at all we have something important and some sort of outsourcing opportunity for some of the other companies, that would be another factor. But I think some of these companies surely warrants a fresh look at it, given the fact that the core business is seeing a major turnaround.
Hemang, do stay on. Need to slip into a very short break. We'll be back in a jiffy. On the other side, our alpha manager for the day, Tridi Bhattacharya of Edelweiss AMC, also joins in next.
Sheets and bold ambitions. Step into the future of India's banking sector at the most anticipated event of the year. Witness a remarkable convergence of visionaries, industry experts and top leaders as they size up the risk-reward roadmap, map out strategies to achieve unparalleled growth and achieve financial sustainability.
Nucleus Software presents CNBC TV 18 Banking Transformation Summit.
Welcome back. Fertilizer started moving up. So pull up an RCF or an FACT. RCF is a gain of close to about 8.7%. FACT is up nearly 4.5%. So that's a pocket of strength. Apart from that, defense continues to buzz. Whether or not you're linked to Chandrayaan, look at something like BEML. The company earlier this week had also won an order worth nearly 100 crore rupees. Its order book as of June was nearly 10,000 crore rupees, 9,800 as of 30th of June. And BEML has had a spike in the last few minutes. So that's one stock which is doing quite well. And you've got strength in some of these smaller real estate players. So Shriram Properties, Imami Realty, both these stocks are moving up on large volumes. But now let's get to a big story, and this is a CNBC TV 18 exclusive. Sources say Torrent Pharma is likely in the race to buy the promoter's stake in Cipla. Ekta is here with the details. Ekta.
The latest news as per sources to CNBC TV 18 is that Torrent Pharma has joined the race for Cipla's promoter stake. However, due to the size of the likely deal, Torrent might need investor support for the stake buy and could look at options such as forming a consortium with PEs. Separately, PEs continue to be in the fray for Cipla's stake, such as Blackstone and Baring PE. Remember, CNBC TV 18 was the first to report on Cipla looking at a stake sale to PEs. CNBC TV 18 is currently awaiting a comment from Torrent Pharma. So the question is, why might Torrent be interested in Cipla? The main lure analysts say is the access to Cipla's India business, which is around 2 times the size of Torrent's India sales. Cipla, which gets around 43% of sales from India, is ranked 3rd, while Torrent, which gets majority of sales from India, is ranked 6th. The overlap also between the two companies is expected to be limited to around 1% of their top 50 brands as per analysts. Torrent might also be interested in Cipla's US arm, which is 5 times the size of Torrent. To put it into perspective, Torrent's FY23 sales from the US was $145 million, which is less than Cipla's quarterly run rate of around $200 million. While it will add around $700 million in case the deal does go through, for Torrent, it will come with regulatory issues such as Cipla's Goa and Indore plant, adding on to Torrent's 2 critical plants which are under the US FDA scanner. The worries of a likely deal such as this would be on the margins. Torrent's margins in Q1 were at around 30.5% and Cipla's at 23.6%, with Cipla's South African region margins expected to be lower. Additionally, Torrent is well versed on India-focused acquisitions. They have in the past decade made significant acquisitions such as Elder's domestic business in 2013, Unichem's India business in 2017 and Curatio Healthcare's business last year. But the deal size has been much smaller, ranging from around 2,000 to 3,600 odd crores. The other worry about a likely deal is how will Torrent fund this likely deal. Cipla's market cap is 1.5 times Torrent's. Cipla's promoter stake is worth over 30,000 crores, and with an open offer, the deal would go upwards of over 55,000 crores. Torrent already has a debt to equity of 1 times. How much would they need to take on to fund a deal of this size? And if it is a consortium, what would the structure be like? Lastly, initial thoughts from analysts such as Antique is that Torrent, if it is looking at Cipla, might be biting off more than they can chew, and the structure and other factors such as continuity in management such as Umang Vohra, who is considered critical to operations and been with the business since 2015, will be watched.
Ekta, thank you very much for putting that into perspective. Hemang, your thoughts? Do you think the Cipla acquisition makes sense for Torrent Pharma? It adds a lot to their US business, but it's much larger in size for Torrent Pharma to take on board.
So there are 2 aspects here, Rima. One is that what would be the possible, valuation and the kind of money which will have to be paid, and given the size of the balance sheet of Torrent Pharma, how that part will be taken care of. In terms of business synergies, given the fact that Cipla has a much stronger presence in the categories like nasal and the kind of ecosystem that they have built, I think it will make a lot of sense for Torrent, because the focus of Torrent Pharma has been more of India market and certain categories, whereas Cipla had a very distinct portfolio which would definitely make a lot of sense. So I think it would surely make sense. Now, time and again we had heard in the market that the stake or the companies on the block, but the management had denied. So it would be very difficult to gauge whether this is going to happen or no. But I think in terms of pure business synergies, I think it surely makes sense.
All right. Thanks very much. Appreciate you joining in, Hemang, and as always, it's a pleasure having you here. Well, look at the Adani Group stocks. I just want to make a quick mention. Stocks have come off, and the intradays will tell you the story. So look at, that's a sharp cut. Actually, look at Adani Enterprises to begin with. There you go. You can look at some of the others as well. Maybe Adani Green, that has come off a little bit. It's down about 2.6% or so. Transmission is down almost a full 6% or so. To be fair, it's not as if the correction started now. They've been falling for most of the day, and that has continued basically. Ports is down about 3% or so. Again, Ports has also been coming off from the morning. Adani Power has been sort of moving up very sharply from 285 levels 3 days back. It went up to about 350, and it's pulling back a little bit, 2.5% on Adani Power. So that's one group of stocks. 66 points on the Nifty. We're at about 19,462 as things stand right now. Market breadth is looking healthy. Mid caps, small caps, etc. looking good as well. Tridip Bhattacharya is with us, Chief Investment Officer, Equities at Edelweiss AMC. Tridip, good to have you with us here. Thanks very much for your time. Banks are doing well. And I reckon one of the most asked around questions on banks is, why is HDFC trading at 15 times multiple? It's a giant, it's growing well, quarterly numbers have been looking good. And so just wanted your thoughts there. HDFC Bank valuations now, someone was pointing out, was it almost 15-year lows?
So I think obviously the valuations have to be calibrated against of an enlarged base, what kind of growth they do. And hence different stocks trade at different valuation multiples. Some of the small cap stocks at higher multiples because the earnings growth subsequently is kind of quite high, and likewise. So without getting into specific thoughts, I do agree that broadly speaking, if you look at lending financials, the valuations of that bunch is by and large one place where valuations are still kind of comfortable, i.e. in line with their historical valuations or maybe slightly lower. But I think broadly speaking, you are dealing with a kind of a market which is valuations wise, fair value maybe slightly or 10% on the higher side. This is a day of conference. I met a whole bunch of companies. It seems to me that the business momentum is fairly robust. So that's where we are.
Hi, Tridip. Good afternoon. Tridip, just imagine HDFC Bank is not performing, one of the largest weights on the index, and still we are higher. So pretty good news. I think HDFC Bank just needs to move 5% and maybe we'll get back to around the 20,000 odd mark. That's the hope, at least from a bullish perspective. But these large caps, well, it's good. Good portfolios are being built for a longer time horizon. The real party has been in the mid cap and the small cap space. What a big outperformance we've seen in this calendar and this fiscal year. Do you think things are getting overheated right now? If you have to allocate fresh money, where will it go? The larger cap names? Or do you think there are still select mid caps that look good?
No, I think we can't rule out. So overall, the context is that the Indian economy is in a cyclical uptick. And in that context, whenever an economy is in a cyclical uptick, returns get broad-based. And when returns get broad-based, mid and small caps generally tend to do better than the large cap. If you look at the history of markets over the last 50, 60 years, that's by and large what it happens. Now, in that context, in some pockets are the valuations expressive in mid and small caps. In small caps, maybe in certain aspects, in certain pockets, they are. But I would say that overall, the valuations between mid and small caps, you can still find pockets where they are investable and valuations are still reasonable. Overall, so the classic PEG ratio that we think about, we can still stitch together a portfolio which has a PEG price to earnings growth ratio of 0.9, which means what you're paying for versus what you are getting are kind of are on the attractive side than otherwise.
Okay. Tridip, I did notice that in your flexi cap portfolio, at least the top holdings, if you look at them, they're more large cap than mid caps or small cap. So, is that a sign of maybe a sense of caution with which you're approaching the market right now, given the mid cap rally? Lots and lots of blue chip names in that fund, from banks to names like Infosys, etc. We'll put up the list as well. and fewer mid-caps and small caps. So what's the takeaway?
Yes, I think overall in the flexi cap category, wherever the valuations are relatively better, large caps are clearly at lower valuations today than that of mid and small caps. And some of them have not done as well. So we take a calibrated view between large and mid. I can see in the list that you put together, there is one or two names which are there in the mid cap as well. And if you go below the top 10, there will be more. So I think overall, are we taking a market cap call at the moment? No. I think we are sticking to basically what I call as pockets of earnings resilience. And whether that is a large cap, mid or small cap, those areas of earnings resilience is where we want to be in. Because even if there is a market correction, those areas, my reckoning would be they would hold up better. And if there is a bull market, they would do kind of better in absolute terms. So in either ways, focusing on pockets of earnings resilience is where, I think relative alpha or absolute alpha might turn out to be.
Tradeep, simple open-ended question. In the last 1 month, in the month of August, what have you bought?
So I think overall, in the last month or last couple of months, we've by and large seen the result season. We've added to kind of some of the stocks which look good on the medium term but have corrected. So, some of the EMS companies, some of the so-called, hardware-oriented companies which corrected in and around the numbers, we added a bit to that. We added a little bit to the pharma sector, and I would add a little bit on the IT sector. So those would be three if I were to sort of look at nibbling. That's what we have done in the last couple of months, 2 or 3 months, I would say.
And in IT, was it large cap or mid cap? What was the bias?
In pharma, it's been in pharma and EMS stroke, China plus one theme. There, it has been more mid and small cap. In IT services, it's mixed. There have been some large caps as well. I think the last result season post a disappointment that came through did give us some levels, particularly in IT services, where stock prices came down to attractive levels, and we took advantage of the same.
Sudeep, what about these PSUs? Out of nowhere, some of these companies have come out and they're smashing it out of the park. Under ownership could be one reason. Valuation comfort. Some of them pay a lot of dividend as well. And Prime Minister Modi as well said, just watch these stocks a couple of weeks or so ago. It's come out and just whacked it out of the park. How are you positioned out there?
Selectively, you showed the top 5 names or top 10 names of FlexiCap. You can see one PSU name in there. But overall, the way we pick stocks is kind of, ultimately, particularly, let's say, within financials. So basically, within PSUs, it's more stock selection, more selective rather than kind of just PSU as a theme. But within that, if you look at lending financials, in my opinion, given that they've gone through the worst asset quality cycle over the last 3 or 4 years, and growth is gradually picking up, I would say the growth there is fairly broad-based across private sector banks as well as public sector banks and also NBFCs. So there we have taken selective exposure to PSUs because we think at this stage of the cycle, even the PSUs would stand to do well. The other area where we have taken exposure to PSUs is basically within defense, because we find that as a combination of valuations, the earnings outlook, and where the order book is, that sort of, that places them quite well. So, just to sort of reaffirm, it's more the thematics in and around the sector or the sectoral dynamics that led us to the PSUs rather than buying PSUs and then trying to fit a theme into it, is what I wanted to say.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tradeep, for joining in. Need to slip into a very short break. As always, we'll get you a check on what dealing rooms are saying in our next segment, the Street Chatter. We'll also get you a few technical trading calls, BTST, on the other side.
a robust and thriving economy, the convergence of the banking sector's scale and the agility and innovation of fintech companies holds the key to transformative growth. Witness industry experts and pioneers share their valuable insights on how technology-driven collaboration can lead to a connected, efficient and innovative financial landscape.
Nucleus Software presents CNBC TV 18 Banking Transformation Summit.
Welcome back. Well, there is some bit of pressure coming into Adani Group stocks. So you have Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports. Both of them have moved to the low point of the day. You also have Ambuja Cements. Remember, the stock has seen a bit of a rally. Good acquisition in Sanghi Industries, any which way you want to look at it. But that one as well has slipped from the top. So just keep an eye out on a couple of these names. But it's a good time to shift focus to our special segment, D-Street Chatter. Nimesh is with us today. Both of us are back in the studio from the conference.
Yes.
Nimesh, tell us, what are you picking up in terms of flows?
You know, Nigel, a good day of trade. The screen is looking better, but the volumes are on the lower side. So there is not much larger participation from the institution, so to speak, in today's upside rally. So that's something I can say a word of caution, so to speak, you know, because it's not led by some large institutional buying or volume. So that's overall feedback. Also, the fact that today's rally is led by the financials, and that's been the weakest sector, so to speak, in the last many weeks, right? Yeah. And that's seeing a bit of a pullback now. The index is at 1%, but even then, within that, it's the PSU stocks, PSU bank stocks, which are doing well today within the financial names. I guess, but the biggest theme is the PSU stocks. sector after sector, you're seeing a rotation happening, and there is a lot of chase happening now. We saw with defense companies, then railway PSUs, then there was a bit of excitement for the shipyard companies as well. Today, for a change, the mining companies are doing good, right? You spoke about GMDC up 10%. I was looking at OMDC. It's a thin stock, but again, that stock is up 11%. Yeah. And now in the last half an hour, 1 hour, you're seeing also a bit of momentum in the fertilizer name. So RCF all of a sudden has shot up 8-10%. So PSU as a theme is continuing to do well. Again, whether you call it technical reasons or just a sector rotation, but that's one space which has been largely chased by retail as well as institutional investors. From a technical point of view, we're still stuck in that range between 19,300 and 19,700. So you're not breaking on either side, but I guess today's move is largely looks like more of retail play than an institutional play, and it's largely favored towards the PSUs.
Yeah, and then the PSUs and the banking names, right? The banks that were asleep, everyone is saying.
But even within banks, I guess it's the PSU banks and the smaller private banks which have done well vis-a-vis the large names.
Nimesh, time has come when the Nifty bank is up 500 points. And HDFC Bank is up 5 rupees. Not even up 1% or thereabouts. But tell us, what about individual stocks?
Well, individual stocks, it's all about blocks and blocks. So my first stock in the list today is Max Financial. Again, the stock is marginally under pressure today, but largely there is a big chatter about a large block deal coming in Max Financial very soon. Remember, there is an indication that maybe the promoter entity could be a seller in the Max Financial block. So that's the first one. The second stock is Interglobe Aviation. For the second day running, the delivery volumes are quite high. I understand the buying interest is back from the larger institutions. Remember, after the block, the stock had consolidated for almost a week, and now you're seeing a bit of buying traction back in Interglobe. So that's the second one. The third stock is Tata Communication. Again, this is one stock, not much been tracked largely by the sell side, but this week the stock is up 700% and on good volumes as well. And I believe one domestic mutual fund has been active buyer, and hence a bit of outperformance in that stock of late. And the last stock is GAIL. Part of the PSU theme, so to speak. Again, the volumes are on the higher side today. Good delivery been marked by the larger institutions, and some bit of interest seems to be back within GAIL as well, and hence a bit of a move in that stock as well today.
Well, thanks very much. Interesting list, Nimesh, as always, and good getting that, right here. Well, just a quick word that I was mentioning the Adani Group stocks, which were all lower, they've fallen more. So Adani Power was down just 3%. There is a sharp fall which has happened after 3 o'clock. So the stock actually is down 8% now. So, from being down 8 now. Look at ports, that's still down about 4%. Transmission was down 7%. I don't think there's any incremental, or maybe there is a bit of an incremental fall. Stock was at about 900 or so at 3 p.m. It's fallen 10 rupees more from there, down 7. Adani Green is down 4%, and Enterprises is down about 6% as well. Enterprises has also taken a bit of a plunge after 3 o'clock. So just a quick update there. Surbhi and Rima, you guys were talking about the Chandrayaan private sector participation, and I think Vivek got us that link with companies which supply to ISRO, etc. This is Sunil Singhania, needs no introduction. He runs Abacus and a veteran investor. I think Sunil has tweeted, it's quite funny. He says, the tweet will come up, the cost of Chandrayaan 3 is 615 crores, he says. The market cap of companies supplying parts to Chandrayaan is up by 50,000 crore rupees today. So I don't know if Sunil's sat down and calculated, but yeah, it's gone up by a significant amount. So just something I thought was funny to put out for the viewers as well. And sometimes, these things, there is wisdom in some of these funny tweets, right? Markets bid up things, the theme, and not everyone benefits, not equally. Some of this is very sort of far-fetched, out of the future. But of course, the market is, as they say, a voting machine, and it's voting these stocks higher as things stand right now. So that's, the stocks. Mitesh is back.
There's one more thing we should be watching, and that's the final between Pragyananda and Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah. When is that, by the way?
I think yesterday was a draw, and I think it's going to continue today, right?
Okay.
So we're all rooting for him as well.
Absolutely. Double dhamaka. Maybe when we come back tomorrow. So fingers crossed. Mitesh is with us to run us through what to buy or sell today for a reverse trade tomorrow. Mitesh, so 40 points. We were looking a little like the market was catching some momentum. We were up 60, 65, given up a little bit, 14,440 once again. Your thoughts?
It's given up a little bit, Prashant, but the good thing is that the bank Nifty has hardly been troubled. While there's some selling on the Nifty components, I think the bank Nifty catching up some momentum is good, and Obviously, it will add to the Nifty upside movement as well. So I expect the bank Nifty to head towards 45,000, maybe even higher levels once it crosses the pivot of 45,000. So that should keep the Nifty in good stead. So maintain long bias. I have two buy calls right now. A BTST and Bandhan Bank, which I would recommend taking a BTST with a stop below 234.5 for targets of 242. And Godrej Industries is giving a very good breakout. So that's a BTST with a stop at 518 for targets of 5.
Okay. All right. Got that. Thanks for the trades, Mitesh. You have a good evening. We'll catch you tomorrow with all the market action. Let's focus on an important story which comes in from the power space. Vivek is telling us about a latest government notification which extends the applicability of Section 11 till the 31st of October. Remember, Section 11 had been invoked by which the government basically tells certain gas-based power plants to operate at full capacity, and then there's a pass-through when it comes to the feedstock that they're using, etc. Let's go across to Vivek for more details on this. Vivek, jog our memory. When was it started and why the extension now?
Well, absolutely, as early as in February 2023, the government had anticipated that the peak power demand would actually necessitate the use of plants that were not operating at full capacity, and also plants that were importing coal from outside of India, especially plants that are based out of Mundra and Gujarat. So Tata Power, one key beneficiary of that. However, the government was not allowing a full pass-through as far as these costs were concerned. So the emergency clause was activated, where for a specific period of time, the government allowed a complete pass-through as far as these costs were concerned. So now, this is the second time an extension has come, and this was expected given the fact that especially in the past week, we are actually seeing power demand hit historical highs. So in the last week, power demand has been consistently above the 230 gigawatt. So what's actually happened? The government has extended Section 11 till 31st of October 2023 from earlier 30th September deadline that they had set about. This particular move was done to ensure availability of electricity, and also all imported coal-based plants that we mentioned will now be able to operate as well as generate power at full capacity.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's invite on the show now Ambarish Baliga, market expert. He is with us. Ambarish, any of the power stocks that you like? Power demand continues to surge. There could be some constraint in terms of capacity. Anything on your radar?
I have recommended in the past is Tata Power, which I recommended closer to, I think, 200, 210 levels. And I have a price target of about 300. And clearly, I'm quite excited about the way they're getting into renewable energy and green power. So I think that's what is going to be driving them over the next 4 to 5 years. So I'm as of now, I have a target of 300, but closer to that, possibly I'll revise it.
All right. Hi, Amrish. Throwing it across to you. Normally, when you join, you give us one stock that you like. Educate us. Which is the one that you like, and give us a couple of fundamental reasons as well.
See, the stock is Britannia. Everyone knows this brand. It's a 100-year-old brand, best known for biscuits and value-added dairy products. And now the focus is on becoming a global total foods brand. In the last 10 years, they've made tremendous progress. Direct distribution has increased about 4x. Rural reach has increased 7 times. And now they have a footprint in new geographies, introduced new categories. And they set up a dedicated R&D unit in Bangalore in 2016. The stock in the same time, in the last 10 years, has become a 12-bagger. But last quarter, the earnings were a bit disappointing. So we have seen a small correction in the stock, and I think that's a buying opportunity. Because if you look at the dividend payout policy, excellent. 75 to 80% of the profits are paid out. And despite this, they have been doing a lot of capex. I think the next 2 years, I'm expecting a top-line growth of about 14% CAGR. So 35% of the revenue should actually come from the non-biscuit segment. And I believe that the margins should improve because a bigger pie would be coming from the premium products. So I'm expecting an EPS of about 108 for FY25. And with that, my target is about 5,400.
5,400 on Britannia. Okay, that's almost a good 900 points, 900 rupees away from where the stock is right now. Got that. We'll keep that in mind, Amrish. I just want to point out to viewers that a lot of the stocks, banking stocks beyond the large cap names, are really having a great session as well. So there's a rub-off. Look at South Indian Bank. 5% up. Look at Bank of Maharashtra, 4%. RBL Bank, Federal Bank, Central Bank of India. Lots and lots of names. IOB, and it's cutting across lines. It could be PSU banks or some of them, smaller names, some private sector names. Karur Vaisya is also one of them. So lots of second-rung banks, basically tier 2 lenders, doing very well in the market. Amarish, do you like any of these names? I mean, if you were to buy anything beyond the Bank Nifty, banking names, which ones would you go for?
No, in fact, in the past, I have recommended Federal Bank as well as Bank of Maharashtra. I think Bank of Maharashtra I had recommended just about 3 months back. And in fact, that time I had a price target of 36. But now, in fact, I've increased it to levels of 48.50. Federal Bank, I have a target of about 174. So that, I continue to hold on. But then I believe that overall the banking pack, I'm talking of the large cap stocks, I think the run is more or less done. Because what we saw in Q1, I think, was the top as far as NIMs are concerned. I clearly see them declining going ahead. So it could be a good time to book out in the large cap stocks. And even these stocks which I've been recommending, Federal and Bank of Maharashtra, and even South Indian Bank, which is, has done decently well in the past 2 to 3 months. So I think these should be looked at more of a trading bet over the next 2 or 3 months and possibly book out at the target prices.
Ambrish, do stay on. We need to slip into a very short break with the news that after a one-way up move on the Nifty Bank from about 10:30 a.m. to about 2:30 p.m., the Nifty Bank has just gone sideways and there has been a little bit of a knock coming through in the Nifty itself. So the Nifty, which was holding well above 19,450, has just gone a hair below that important level. We'll slip into a break. We'll come back. 9 minutes to go for market closing.
Welcome back. The party is on actually for the mid-cap and the small-cap indices, but it seems that the music has just stopped, maybe for a tad bit at least as we speak. You pull up the intraday charts or the lines of the advanced decline ratio. That will tell you the picture. And also just take a look at the Nifty mid-cap index. That's seen a sharp downtick actually in the last few minutes. We're still up close to around 0.3%, but nothing compared to what we were, say, around 50 minutes or so ago. And those lines are coming closer together. At the start of today, there were only 300 stocks that were declining. Now there are 1,200 stocks that are declining. So the party is on, but maybe in fact the music has stopped for a little bit towards the end of today's session. Well, Amrish is still with us. Amrish, I wanted to ask you about a couple of the smaller banks. Bank of Maharashtra, South India Bank, they've got a new boss at the top. They are up. Everyone's talking about, banking stocks looking name, but some of these ignored, maybe under-owned names. They are up, 25% in this month itself. They're quietly moving higher. Some of these, tier 2, tier 3 banks, do you like them? Federal Bank, for example, the management joined us yesterday. They're talking about doubling their loan book. The stock is up 4% as well today.
So that's what I said. These are those three banks which are like of the, out of the smaller pack. But then again, this may not be an investment at this point of time, in the sense when I say investment, I may not be possibly holding it for 12 to 18 months. This is possibly a 3 to 4 month play because the catch-up is happening, and there's been a positive news in some of those stocks, especially the South Indian Bank with a clear change at the top. We could see the way Karur Vysya had moved.
Okay, I think we lost the line there. We'll just go back to him as soon as we have him back, Amrish. In the meanwhile, I just want to make a quick mention of look at what Paytm is doing. It's shot up. It's all of the move, almost all of the move for the 7% that is on Paytm coming after, I think, 3 p.m. There you go. That's a very sharp move up, which we've seen on Paytm, 913 or so. But back to South Indian Bank, Amrish was completing that point. Amrish, we lost you there. Go on.
Bank is concerned, I think the story is there for the next 3 or 4 years because of the change at the top. And we have seen, how Karur Vysya Bank balance sheet was cleaned up and the way it has performed. But then the issue is going to be over the next 3 or 4 quarters when you will see the NIM starting to come down. And because of which I first see the large cap stocks correcting, because I think that run is more or less done. And you'll have the small and mid cap stocks possibly correcting post that. So I would possibly use Federal Bank,
Okay, finding it difficult to make that connection with Amrish, but he was just giving us his view on the banking space. Federal Bank is the one that he likes. The Nifty is going to go home with gains to the tune of close to about 0.5%, but most of those gains are courtesy the strength that we had in the banking names. The Nifty banking index is going to go home with a gain of over 1%. That's a 500-point rally, and after many days of sluggish move, today it appeared the Nifty Bank has broken out with its individual constituents led by Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, State Bank of India, all rallying close to about 1.5%. Kotak Mahindra Bank has also had a pretty fantastic intraday chart, 1% higher on that. Other gainers include Hindalco, that's up 2.3%. L&T has had a good session. Maruti Suzuki, SBI Life gaining for the second day in a row yesterday as well. Quite smart. On the losing side, Adani Group stocks under pressure. Adani Enterprises, Adani Ports were the top 2 losers. The sell-off accelerating in the last 1 hour. Adani Enterprises by the close down nearly 6%. Softness seen in Sun Pharma, Tata Motors, Bharti Airtel and ITC.
Okay, if you talk about the mid-caps, yes, there was a cool-off, but the index is still going home with a gain of almost 0.4%. We've been discussing a lot of these, Chandrayaan-associated stocks. Good day for them. Paras Defense, 5.5%. BEML, about 5%. MTAR, up and about as well. Mishra Dhatu, up about 3%. So these are some of the major names. Other than that, a lot of the real estate plays had a very good session. Look at Godrej. It's up about 9% if I'm looking at the right one. Let's pull up Godrej Properties. Some of the other names like Sobha, etc. also managed to get Keystone Realtors is another one. So decent day for a lot of the real estate stocks. Other than that, if we talk about gainers where the price and volume action was still in favor, then Shipping Corporation of India 9%. A lot of the banks that we were just discussing with Amrish, UCO, Punjab and Sindh Bank, South Indian Bank, Federal Bank, all of these stocks up and about.